This is Felt Recoil.
Welcome to Felt Recoil. This is number 60. Glad to have you here. Come now and let's reason together. That'll be a fun time. By the way, there's a lot to get to on tonight's show, like the national championship football game between one team I don't care about and another team I didn't care about, and they played each other in a game that I didn't care about, but I watched anyway. And I did. I'll tell you what I learned from the national championship. It proves all the sports fans wrong. All of them. And I'll tell you why in just a couple of seconds. My wife taught her mom a life lesson in real time. It was great. And I want to share that with you. Plus, I've been car shopping. So there's a lot in the daily life to get to. We have an email from our buddy Matt asking, does price point equal quality when it comes to firearms? And I want to talk about that. Plus, SIG has released the SIG 365.
Say it ain't so.
I wish I could. And then they also, Springfield Armory has released the 911 in one of the worst marketing campaigns we've ever seen. And I don't remember if we brought that up here or in our personal lives.
No, we did last week.
Oh, okay. So we might hit on it again. And then the Golden Globes. I didn't watch the entire thing. I literally watched 10 minutes maybe of the Golden Globes because I was going to work on Sunday night, meaning we wrapped dinner up, put the kids to bed, and then I went in and said, okay, I'm going to go get my work done that I have to do. And my wife said, okay. And she was watching the Golden Globes just as background noise. And as we talked for a couple minutes, we watched it play. And there were three things that proved how out of touch Hollywood is. So we'll get to all that. Plus a great VOTA of the week. You're going to like this one, so don't go too far. First, let's talk about the fact that our shop is now open. If you go to feltrecoilshow.com/shop, you can choose from pint glasses, we have rocks glasses, and then we have a variety of stickers.
And those glasses are hand-etched.
Hand-etched here in South Carolina by a friend of the show. Really, really nice. If you buy a glass, we'll throw in some goodies on the side for you. So, I mean, we're not trying to get rich here. We've tried to make that very clear. So I'll just here's how terrible of a businessman I am. If you're going to buy a glass, don't necessarily buy a sticker as well. Just buy the glass. But if you want to buy a sticker, buy a couple of stickers as well. And it's important to note that, yes, it's a friend of ours doing the glass work. She is hand etching them in. They are dishwasher safe, really nice. We're using them here during the show. I'm using them at home as well. So very, very nice stuff. But there's a vinyl, and if you wonder what the vinyl is, that's one of those where it's just the outline. So I have one on my car's window. You probably see a lot of them on people's car windows, but there's a white vinyl you can get, and then there's a couple of varieties of little stickers you can get. All of them have about the same measurements. They're nice size stickers, so grab some of those. And remember this, about 1/3 of what you pay, and don't hold me to that legally, but somewhere around a third of what you pay will go straight back to... You can
see the class action lawsuit now.
Right. But it'll go straight back to the charities that we list on our website as well.
Is it a class action lawsuit if we only have like 3 listeners?
Right. Your mom and my mom sue us. Now, boys, where's that charity money? And we'll give it over to some good causes as well. But it does, we do spend a little money to do this show every month, and we're not complaining about it. But some of it will cover our costs incurred. But we're also going to put some of it back in the pockets of people that actually deserve your money, which are people like our charity of choice.
I was really planning on buying a beach house with the money from the pint glasses.
Oh man, I thought you knew by now. I thought you knew by now.
I feel like that should be a thing.
I think if you're under any sort of impression that you're going to get wealthy while working alongside me, that's your own fault at this point. It's your own fault.
It's true. I've known you for about 5 years or so now, and here I am, still broke.
And I have Facebook. And from what I hear, people that want to do business with you will look at your Facebook, and no bueno.
I probably should have done that from the outset.
All right. This week's charity of choice is Folds of Honor. Please visit foldsofhonor.org. Support this organization that for the last 11 years now, so more than a decade, Folds of Honor has carried on a singular noble mission to provide educational scholarships to the spouses and children of America's fallen and disabled service members. Their motto says it best: honor the sacrifice, educate their legacy. Please visit foldsofonor.org and learn more about that great organization. Okay, where to begin? Man, there's a whole lot to get to. I want to start... I just cut you off before we started recording and said I'm going to answer that here in a second. Remind me what we were just talking about before I got into all this.
I'm sure it's something really important. I have no idea.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, well, we'll get there later. Let me say this. As a father of 3 children, I have almost come to... I'm not going to say hate Christmas. I dislike... the idea that people feel like they have to buy your kids just a bunch of gifts. Specifically, my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, as I've told you before, works for Walmart. And so she shows up every year at our house with a car full of presents. And if you think I'm just using some sort of hyperbole or exaggerated term, it is legitimately stuffed to the gills. I mean, you can't see out her back window. She should be pulled over, and then she pops the trunk. It's crazy. Anyway, she bought our kids the most obnoxious toy this year, and it's a dancing worm. So it's like this thing. It looks like a worm, but it's actually like a centipede or something because it's got a bunch of arms, right? And you can put these little balls in its hands, I guess. I don't know, these little round things. And the kids, it's a game. You turn it on, it plays music and dances. And the game is who can put the most on its hands while it dances. But it's a kid's game, so it never stops dancing. The music never goes away. It's always there.
I don't know how. I don't already know about this.
Right. I would assume you have 3 that you play with at home. Here's what's great. My mother-in-law bought them for the kids. Well, she stops by this weekend, and I just walked into the kitchen to begin making breakfast, and the door opens, and I go, did my wife go outside? And I hear my oldest son go, hey, Lala. That's what they call their grandma on my wife's side. Hey, Lala. And I go, what? and here she comes, right? And I'm like,
surprise.
All right. Okay. So she's here and she's hanging out. No problem. You know, she doesn't need much. She likes coffee. It's really that simple. If she's here, I make sure we have a pot of coffee. And if we have a pot of coffee, I can hand her a cup of coffee and she's good. She doesn't bother anybody. She barely talks. But here's what's great. So it's true. And so she's sitting there hanging out with us and the worm's going crazy. And the song is as obnoxious as the chicken dance at the hockey games, you know? Right? And so the song's going.
That in our heads.
Right. And we're sitting there and she goes, what is that noise? And my wife goes, it's that worm. And she goes, oh. And my mother-in-law stands up and moves to turn it off. And my wife goes, oh, no. You bought it. You put up with it too. This is our life since Christmas.
There you go.
I was like, oh. And her mom's like, well, we can turn it off, right? She goes, no, you're going to listen to it and understand that this is what we put up with when you bring that stuff over. And I thought, A, man, my wife is listening to the podcast. She's really picking up some attitude. And B, fantastic. It was good. It was fun. So anyway, it was nice to see somebody learn a life lesson. I'm hoping it resonated and it sticks and we don't get those presents anymore.
Should have made her take it home with her.
Well, yeah, she lives an hour away, so that's hard because the kids love it. However, my dad thought he would be funny.
You know what, though? Kids are resilient. They'll forget about it. They'll move on.
They probably would. That's true. My dad lives 5 minutes up the street, and he thought he would buy my sons these guns that shoot just round foam balls, you know, but they make this loud, obnoxious popping sound because they operate on air pressure, right? It's like a little vacuum, if you will. So you pump it, and it sucks out all the air, and as you squeeze, there's no air, and it forces it out. It goes pop, pop, pop all over the house. They hold 8 at a time. He bought them 4 of them and a bag of like 90 of these balls. And he thought that was great. Well, guess what I did? I packed it all up, took it down to his house, and they stayed there. And I said, no, boys, these are for Grandpa's house. And I get a sick pleasure out of watching my mother's face as I remind them, no. These stay here in your face, Dad. Anyway, so it can happen.
He's probably just sitting in the living room, just shooting it.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, and then one more quick story, just because I have to tell it so I don't forget to ever tell this. I am currently car shopping. And I went and drove a car last night at a dealership, and it was the most cliche car shopping experience you can imagine. I promise you, none of this is an exaggeration, but I don't know if this is smart or not. Like I said, I'm not a businessman. I don't like people. Don't jerk me around about money. I won't jerk you around. I'll give you what the car's worth. Let's just reach an agreement. I don't need to play these games. So what I did was get on the phone with my bank before I even started. And I said, hey, how much money can I borrow to buy a car? And then the bank does that thing where they go, like, what car do you want? I go, I don't know. Like, I just want to buy a car. I want to know how much I could possibly borrow. So my bank's cool. I bank with USAA. Not because I was in the military, but because everybody around me was. And so I kind of skated on their coattails. But they have this thing where, so you get approved for up to an amount, right? And then you can tell it what year the car is, you know your interest rate, and then it'll spit out your monthly payment, right? So I found a car that I felt like I could afford, and it's kind of a dream car for me, actually. The only reason I would buy it is because for years I've said, given the opportunity, I would buy an Audi Q7. I think they're amazing cars. I love them, right? I have said that to you.
You have,
realistically, right? Okay. So I found one.
We've had this conversation.
It's actually within the budget, and that was hard. I was like, wow, all right. So I drove an hour to test drive this car last night, and I get to the dealership, and it's in pretty good shape. I mean, it's 2013. Don't get me wrong. I'm not out there buying $60,000, $50,000, $40,000, or even $30,000 cars. It's a little older, but it's still newer than the car I'm in. It has a third of the miles of the car I'm in. So there's a lot of good in buying the car, but what you do that dance in your head. Do I need to buy this? Do I want to commit to a car payment? Blah, blah. Anyway. Long story short, I drive the car with this guy, and I do want to say this. We get in the car. I had to go find someone to show me the car because there's a weird setup at the car lot, which I would think that if my job were to sell people things, I would stand and wait to watch people looking for something to buy. Does that make sense?
No.
Wouldn't you be in the wing waiting and you go, hey, look, there's a guy crawling into a car right now. Let me go see if he wants to buy it.
No.
Yeah, that didn't happen here. So I literally...
Okay, yes.
I sat in this car by myself for no less than 15 minutes and just played with every gizmo. Turns out, if you're ever shopping for an Audi, I don't know any other cars that are like this. I'd never been in a car like this before. But in Audi, all the electronics will function with no key. So you can get in and start seeing how the radio works and see how everything works. I had no key. I was a little ways away from the showroom, blah, blah. So I'm in there playing around with it. And I think to myself, it smells like cat in here a little bit. Like not a lot, but a little bit.
And now we know why it was such a good deal.
Yeah, exactly right. And I go, maybe I'm just being paranoid. Nah, it definitely smells like cat. But as I looked, I realized it hadn't been cleaned. It hasn't been detailed yet. So I go, okay. Good scrubbing. It's not heavy enough that you would notice it. Good scrubbing would get rid of the smell. So I take it on a test drive. I go get this guy, and he's like, yeah, let's take it out. So we take it around. He's a really nice guy, really cool. And I say to him, hey, don't be offended, because I had this thought before you were in the car. I want to be real clear. And he goes, okay. I said, do you smell cat right now? He goes, nah, man, no cat. I said, you sure you don't smell cat? Because I grew up next to people who bred cats for fun. I can smell cat. From like a mile away, I can smell cat. And I hate the smell.
I didn't know you grew up next to Satanists.
Yes, absolutely. So it was us and then the Hulan family directly next door.
Oh, so yeah, I guess I did know.
I remember I would go over to their house. I'd go to their house, and there's one kid, and he said, I just want to grow up and make you miserable. And there's another kid, and he was like, I just want to grow up and make an honest living cutting people's hair. And then the other kid would say to him, I'll never let you cut my hair. And then it was this weird thing. Anyway.
What the hell is going on right now?
I got an email this week about not giving you any more grief about the fact that you don't drive 2 hours to let your brother cut your hair.
Oh, okay.
So I'm referencing that.
All right.
Bring it back. The point is...
Is it for my mom or my brother?
We go back to the dealership, and I say to the guy, and is it rude to give the number? It's not rude to give the numbers, right? So they're at a number. They're at 25.9, which is a fair price, 25.9. And I say to the guy, look, I'm going to be right out the door at 25. I'm not going to beat you up too hard. But I'm not paying all these silly fees. I'm going to be right out the door at 25. Give me a second, Chris. Give me a second. Be right back. And he does that whole thing where he walks away. I'm not lying about this. He walks away, comes back. Chris, you'll see here Kelly Blue Book says average cost on this is $26.5. $26.5. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. We got you down $25.9. Right. So that's a sticker price. What I'm telling you is that's cool. It's a $800 processing fee.
Right.
What does that even mean? So let's not pay that. So I said to him, I didn't really argue the semantics. This was kind of in my head. And I said, all right, well, look, here's the thing. I see where you're at. I'm not going to beat you up too hard on it. But I'm going to take this home. I'm going to talk to my wife about it. Really give it a thought for a day. I'm off today and tomorrow. Or tomorrow. Yeah. Today and tomorrow. I will let you know tomorrow what I want to do. And he goes, listen. All right. So, you know what? Hang tight. Let me talk to my manager. Okay. So he walks away and doesn't come back. And then this guy comes back.
That's on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Chris, how are you? And he said my name like we already knew each other. Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy? And I was like, we haven't even met. So your name comes first. This is kind of social etiquette 101. If I don't know you...
No, that doesn't exist in stealerships.
Please just say, hey, are you Chris? Or, do that thing people do where...
They already knew you were in holding cell 11.
Yeah.
Cell block D, so...
He was, he definitely thought, I'm liking the way you're approaching that, because he thought he had the advantage, this guy wants something from me. But at the end of the day, I knew he'd had the car for more than 3 months, and I knew that...
well, yeah, a cat died in it.
Yeah, no
Who the hell's buying that piece of crap?
The Satanists would sacrifice their cats in the back. And so I said, hey, how you doing? And he had nothing to say. It was really awkward. It was completely like, so,
car.
What'd you think? And I said, I liked it. How'd it drive? Oh, it drove great. Drove really well. And it did. I mean, it's great. It's a great...
But what did he really expect you to say? No, it sucked, but I'm still here.
Right. Here I am. Yeah, because I drove a car today. I drove a Volkswagen Touareg today after I picked my Volkswagen up from getting fixed again. And
glutton for punishment.
Right. Well, my Jetta's been great. It just has recently had like 3 problems in a row, coupled with the fact that my wife's car keeps having problems. We're like, why don't we go get something that'll fit the whole family? Chris can drive every day. Anyway, drove a Touareg today. It didn't go that way. It went, let's drive it. We got in and drove it. And I was like, man, this thing's a hunk of junk. Like, it drove very poorly. Literally got back to the dealership, handed the guy the key back and was like, well, appreciate it, and left. So, yeah, I'm still there, still talking. Anyway, here's the whole point. Let's wrap this up. He had nothing to say, so he walks away, and then the employee comes back, hands me the print off with their final price on it, and he goes, hey, just so you know, I happened to hear a coworker today say that he's got people coming to look at it tomorrow. So as soon as you make a decision, just let me know. And I was like... Right, but you've had it for literally 92 days, it says here on the report. It's been on your lot 92 days. So that'd be an awesome coincidence for you guys if you just suddenly sold it. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I
watched Fargo last night.
Oh, even perfect then, right? Perfect.
And he's like, he does the whole, they never do this.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I wish I could do William H. Macy's voice that he does in that. Man, that accent is so good. It's Bobby's mom from Bobby's World. They're all doing her accent,
Yeah.
Like the deputy in that movie. I can't remember the character name or the actress.
I don't either. But I saw it last night and I already forgot.
She's Bobby's mom through and through, man. Well, don't you know? Yeah, don't you know? Yeah. Through and through. So anyway, and
gonna knock $100 off.
Yeah, we're gonna take the $100 off. I've never seen them do it.
I mean, to be clear, the clear coat comes from the factory.
I love that movie. That is such a good movie. So that is a great example of you expect that out of, that's a Coen Brothers flick, I believe.
It is.
Expect it out of like a campy scene in a Coen Brothers flick where
and then you live it and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, this is a real thing. They do this? They do this? Come on, guys. Why can't, I emailed a car dealership this morning.
That's the thing. It's funny because it's true, right? I mean.
But it should be true, but exaggerated. Things are funny because they're exaggerations of the truth, but this isn't. This is like verbatim real life. Like, I just need to let you know, coming tomorrow. And you know, again, the manager coming out playing this back and forth game where he has nothing to contribute. I would understand if he came out and he said, hey, Chris, listen, honest to God, it's been here 90 days. I want you to take it. What's it take for you to take it? And I go, well, I mean, you know, I got to get here. I could say that to him, but I was never given that opportunity. It was really just like a switch thing. That was great. Drove really well. Okay. So like, and then there was this moment where he was, you know, well, we can get you look at this financing, and he like circles the financing rate on his sheet of paper. Let me, you know, we'll do our best to get you right here. And I said, well, no, I mean, I've already got money. Like, legitimately, if you don't know this, I don't know. I'm sure every bank does this with my bank, and I'm sure every bank does this. It doesn't make me special. But when you get it pre-approved, they literally they list it under your accounts. So right now in my bank account, it looks like I have like $40,000 more than I actually have because I got pre-approved for up to that amount to buy a car. Now, I can't afford a $40,000 car. I know that. Everyone around me knows that. I have to stay.
Sure you can. It's in your account.
Right, exactly. So I can't.
That's how the Democrats buy a car.
That's a Bernie Sanders car. So I say to him, no, I've got the money and I've got financing, and
And then, Chris, if you like your car, you can keep your car.
Interesting.
I don't really know how that works, but I just heard it's a thing.
Okay, yeah. Even with its preconceived condition?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anyway. It was funny to watch that play out in real time, and I thought, poor people that have to do this for a living. Because I had a nice young guy helping me, and the whole time I kept thinking, out of the two of us, he's the one that doesn't want to be here right now, because he's like, yeah, I mean, he told me everything he did before he sold cars. He's had great jobs, talented guy. And I really kind of was like, I almost said it, but I didn't want to offend him. But he's at a stopgap. Like, he's just, I needed a job. These guys were paying more in my other job. This isn't what I'm going to do with my life. He's a really nice guy.
When I bought my truck, I kind of had the same thing. I had a nice young guy who's obviously Middle Eastern. Kind of spoke a little bit of broken English.
He was obviously Middle Eastern.
And so when I'm test driving the truck,
when he got done beating his wife, he came over and was like, so you want to drive that Tacoma?
I take it for a test drive. And so I'm chatting the guy up because it's awkward anyway. Because it's like I don't know you, and now we're driving through some upscale neighborhood. Nothing to see here, just me and Abdul, and we're cutting through this neighborhood, and I said, so where are you from, man? And he was, you could tell he didn't want to tell me, like he just kind of like locked up, like, well, I'm not from around here,
right?
And it was like, right, I gathered, because you'd barely speak English, and then it turns out he tells me he's from Syria.
Oh,
and then he immediately reassures me he's not a terrorist.
But I'm not a refugee, and I came here legally. Oh my God!
Very nice guy.
My people have ruined it for all of us. I'm really sorry.
And then he told me how much he loves America, and and our food in the South.
Well, I'm sure. I've only gained 50 pounds since I got here. Yeah,
it's like, you guys like to fry everything. Like, yeah, we do.
You got that right. Quick and easy. Well, all right. Car buying is not fun. It's not fun. All right. Where else? Okay. So, did you watch the national championship football game? Alabama played Georgia.
No, sir.
All right. So, I don't watch a lot of sports. I watched this one. I actually lived in Alabama for 3 years, and then I lived in Georgia for a couple years. Whoa. So, it's kind of fun to watch them play each other in the national championship. Because that's all those people have. It's all they got is college football. And if you think I'm lying, I'm not. I've lived it. When I moved to Birmingham, Alabama.
Hey. Yes. They also have high school football. Okay.
Right. They have Rush Probst, who had a secret family in an MTV show, if you remember Two-A-Days. In fact, that'll tie in well. When I moved to Birmingham, Alabama, people would come up to me and they'd go, "Hey, who are you pulling for? Are you going to be Alabama, Auburn? What you thinking?" And I'd go, "Oh, I don't care." Right. So you pulling for? And I would say, UAB, University of Alabama at Birmingham. I go Blazers. That's great. Yeah, right. Listen,
real team.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but I need you to stop being one and tell me if you're going to root Alabama or Auburn. I go, "Hey, man,
we're going to have a problem, boy."
I literally just got here like a week ago. I don't really watch a lot of football. All right. I want you to write down the names of the people who hired you. Okay. Your closest blood relative, I'm right, and home address. You know, like they take it very, very seriously.
And we're going to put our robes on and show up in their yard tonight.
Yeah. There was an MTV show called Two-A-Days back in the day about an Alabama high school football team from Hoover, Alabama. Okay. And they would pray, "Dear Jesus Christ, bless this football game. Help us play well and win, Lord, and we'll glorify you." And I would make fun of the fact, even to this day, if Jesus has nothing better to do in heaven but bless your football game, I don't want to hear about it. I like to believe he's got more on his plate. You know what I'm saying? There's missionaries in the Micronesian islands who are getting thrown off boats and having to swim to shore. And that's a real story I heard one time because they're trying to spread the gospel of Christ. I'm not saying Jesus doesn't care about your football game, but I think you get a thumbs up from heaven, and that's about as far as it goes.
Like, let's get that PAT, Lord.
He's listening to the guy out in the Pacific facing down the typhoon, and he's like, "All right, yep, okay." And then, "And how about our football game?" And then you get the thumbs up, like from the other side. And then he goes back. He's like, "All right, go ahead, guy in the typhoon. Go ahead, I'm listening." "All right, yep, I'm gonna put a caring and loving hand over this guy." "What? Oh, the tight end broke his leg?" "Well, that's free will. That's free will. That's the way the world works." You know what I'm saying? That's how I think. I tend to believe that's how Jesus is running things. But I don't know. I'm no theologian. But my point is, Rush Probst was that guy. He was really crazy. He was very, very weird. And he got caught. He had an MTV reality show because he's a moron. He had an MTV reality show, and it come to find out the dude's got a secret family. He had a whole nother wife, whole nother set of kids. I don't know who he was lying to at the time.
How people on TV think nobody will ever figure that stuff out.
How could you not? Like, he had to legitimately tell his fake family or his real family or whatever the case was. But the family that wasn't his family on TV had to believe that the family on TV were just hired actors, right?
What if they saw him on TV and he was like, "That's not me."
That ain't me. Yeah, it looks like me. No, they knew. And it all blew apart. And my point is, I took a jab at Rush Probst on the air one night. I was doing a top 40 radio show on WQEN, all right, 103.7 The Q in Birmingham, and I was doing a nightly program there, and I took a jab at this ingrate, just low-life high school football coach and was told, "Don't do that again." That's how much Alabama loves.
We're doing top 40 at the Q.
Right.
Playing all the jams. Sponsored by hot dogs.
Yes. 137 The Q. I don't think we had a tag like all the hits and all that, which, 1,000 stations around the country.
But I bet you were sponsored by hot dogs. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we were sponsored. That's actually kind of
I don't mean like a brand of hot dogs, just hot dogs.
Just in general. Yeah, no, we were sponsored by prepubescent girls who were listening to music they should have never been listening to. I'll tell you that right now. It's a terrible business. It really is. All right, so what is the point? Yes, so I watched the national football, national college, whatever it's called. And here's
championship game. Maybe?
Here's what struck me. Yes, probably something like that. I don't care. Here's what struck me.
Sport ball.
You sit down with a sport ball fan, and they're going to say to you, "Chris, sports builds character and discipline." Hoorah! Right? I mean, that's the excuse. That's what you hear. Why do my 5-year-old son wants to play soccer at the YMCA right now, okay? And I'm happy to pay and sign him up, and we already have. He's going to play soccer. But I'm going to tell you something, and I mean this sincerely. We're going to have a big problem if he has a jerk for a coach. If his coach likes to yell, his coach and I are going to have a conversation.
Real quick, Chris.
Yes, lay it on me.
Did you say soccer?
Yeah, I said soccer.
So, I mean, like, at what point did you guys decide you liked Hillary?
Right. during the college football championship.
Okay, just checking.
When I learned that apparently college isn't teaching kids discipline and self-worth the way everybody lies to us and says it is. Okay. I didn't have a team I was necessarily pulling for. I have friends on both sides of the aisle. I would have liked to have seen Georgia win simply because Alabama always wins. And since I'm not a sports fan, that tends to be how I cheer is, well, who's supposed to win? They are. All right, root for the underdog. Right? That's just kind of how I pick my teams, which is, God help me. I guess that's just why I'm a Gamecock.
I was going to say, that's what makes us both Gamecock fans.
I never can't cheer for a winning team. And once we are a winning team, Spurrier's going to walk. Let him go. No, don't let him go. Please, God, keep him. All right. Anyway, last champ. What are we doing? So here's the 3 infractions that really gave me pause. This is what happened. And then I'll expand on it a little bit. There was a moment where an Alabama player sucker punched a guy on the field, just sucker punched him when the guy wasn't looking. They haul the Alabama player off the field. One of the coaches is getting at him, and the guy takes a swing at the coach. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see a clip after the game.
And then they let him play.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They let him go back in the game.
Well, I mean, he's good. You can't just not let the guy that's good play.
Jalen Hurts is pretty good, and he was benched for the entire second half. They benched their starting quarterback.
Must not have been that good.
Well, he wasn't that night. And what's more important, the moral or the win, right? And that's my problem here.
Well, the morals don't really. I mean, it's hard to cash the moral check.
You don't get a $200,000 bonus for morals.
Right.
Yeah. Dabo ain't getting $200,000 checks for saying, how am I properly impacting my players at Clemson? You know, a question he has publicly stated is on his mind all the time, which makes me like the guy, right? Here's a guy who
he's also not cashing any dancing in the locker room checks, but he does it anyway. So
he's at
I don't know.
But he's at is he $4 to $6 million a year right now? Do that math. Dude's making crazy bank. The point is, they had that incident. Then there was another incident where an Alabama player tackled the Georgia quarterback and pinned him to the ground and then punched him in the back of the head. And you're like, what is going on right now? So that's 3 incidences, right? Sucker punch a guy on the field and then take a swing at your coach. And then separate player pins a guy to the ground, punches him in the back of the head. And I think to myself, they're lying. They're lying not to me because I don't believe them, but they're lying to themselves. This whole idea that if you'll immerse your kid in this culture where some old man who couldn't run 100 yards if his life depended on it will just yell and scream and pound on them until they do better, that will enact discipline and self-worth into these kids. It's not working. It's not working. These kids are growing up to be thugs and hooligans that fight and attack each other on the field. And then they have such little respect for authority that when you pull them off to the sideline, they'll take a swing at a coach. So I have to question this whole idea of these. And by the way, before you think, well, Chris, this is like 2-3 incidences in one game. You can't judge all sports. These are the best teams you tell me exist. And apparently what it takes to make the best team in college football is a lack of discipline and jackasses that are willing to sucker punch people and their coaches on the field. I lost all respect for Alabama. If I was an Alabama fan, I would be ashamed of my team for that win. I wouldn't be proud of that win. I would be horribly, frighteningly ashamed of my team. But they won't be, because to a lot of people, all that matters is the win. We got to let those things go. It's a part of sports. Okay. Being a bad person, being a terrible human being is a part of sports, then it kind of explains why I really just don't care about it. And quite frankly, if I can be real candid and dynamic for a second,
please do. I like it when you're candid and dynamic at the same time.
Like a ninja star. It's what irritates the hell out of me about the gun community. I've become so disenfranchised with the gun community because everybody you run into in the gun community has to be right about everything. They have to be right about everything. And maybe you could say, well, look at you. You have a podcast where all you do is say, well, you're right about everything. Point taken. Touche. Right. But I'm not telling you that follow me on Instagram so I can. And this is what really gets me. The self-assessment. Guys, stop with the self-assessment. Nobody believes you. Nobody cares. You're not. Did you see what's the kid's name? Lucas Lucas Botkin. T-Rex, which, by the way, read his family's history, holy moly. I'm not blaming him for it, but oh my gosh, I hope he's free and clear of all that. Here's a guy who does a review on a Glock and runs around with it, bang, 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 and he acts like, look at me, I'm so tactical, but I knew where all the targets were. Kind of not the same thing, right? But anyway, seems like a nice guy. But his whole review on the Gen 5 Glock is a talk down to anyone who disagrees with him. And maybe he's had a week with it, and maybe he's a faster shooter than I'll ever be and a better shooter than I'll ever be, and that's fine. That's fine. Good for him. But what I'll never be is a guy who says to you, if you disagree with this, here's all the reasons you're dumb. And the gun community does it as a habit. And these are people at the highest echelons. This is a guy who runs a company making holsters. This is what impressed me so much about the Haley Strategic course I took in Tulsa, was when Travis was there, it was a whole lesson in how wrong we all are. Travis got up and said, I'm not here to tell you how to do everything right. I'm here to tell you everything I've ever done wrong so you can do it differently, right? You were there.
Yep.
That's what impressed me with Travis Haley. That's what brought me to the point where there's, a framed certificate of completion and then a drag on one wall and a dragonfly on another wall and, all this stuff around us, is because that was a life lesson. That was an impacting lesson in humility. And so then when that's kind of where I began immersing myself in the gun culture. And then you start recognizing all these guys are just simply showing off, and they're battling to be numero uno. For what? For what? There's no... This is going to really open a can. There's no real life application to what a lot of these guys are doing, right?
Machismo is a lot like Bitcoin. You can have as much as you want, but you can't really take it to the bank.
Yeah, not everybody accepts it.
Right.
You gotta stay in the crowd that does, or it does you no good. Right?
Which is called Instagram these days.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're not hot on the IG, I don't know what you're doing with yourself.
Well, it's just, there's a lot of these incidents I'm noticing in the gun community where we're jumping on people. Here's a great example. We have an email. Let me share this with you. From a friend of ours. I'll leave his name out of it just so he doesn't feel like I'm throwing him under the bus or anything, because I told him we'd bring the idea up. Do you know where they keep emails? There we go. Okay. God bless. All right. So I'll keep his name out of it. But he wrote and said, hey, listen, I've been listening to the show for about 3 or 4 solid months. And I was on Facebook today and posted a question that was pretty specific to a group. They're gun friendly. It's a place where members can post pictures and ask questions. So here's what I posted. I'm going to read his post point blank verbatim, okay? Quote, working on completing a JOAT build. Arrow upper, Palmetto State Armory lower, SOLGW parts kits. That's Sons of Liberty Gunworks parts kits. UBR Gen 2 with A5 buffer and rifle spring. Palmetto State Armory premium 16-inch barrel. I've decided to go with a 13-inch Geisley rail, either MK4 or MK13, but really can't tell a difference between the two. So MK4, MK13, maybe Hulon can answer that. Not to put you on the spot. Other than I can't tell the difference between the two, other than what looks like venting slots at the 1 and 11 positions. I want an MK4 or 13 because of the pick. I think he's saying pick rail at the end, and BCM and others don't have that. Anyway, so now I want to thank you for taking the time to read this, as it pretty much is just me bitching about the community for a hot second. I got 2 solid replies that told me the differences came down to A, the barrel nut, and B, the inner and outer diameter, and C, the MK4 has M-lock at the 11 and 1 o'clock, the entire length of the barrel. Cool, got it. Then some dude decides to tell me that I'm wasting money by putting a Geisley rail on a build that has quality parts like Magpul and Sons of Liberty, but then a PSA lower in barrel. I haven't had any issues with that stuff. I've done other builds with it, specifically 2 other lowers. I'm honestly tired of people equating Gucci prices with quality gear. I'm looking at it like everything is replaceable if something breaks. get a new one. All right. So then basically he goes on and says, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'd like to hear, and he's talking to both of us, on the difference between cost and quality when it comes to gun parts. And here's what I'm talking about. This is what drives me batty. It drives me crazy. Is that there are people in the gun world who will tell you that a .380 caliber, you cannot defend your life with a .380 caliber. You shouldn't do that. It's stupid. You can only carry 40 or higher.
When did you talk to James Yeager?
Oh, yeah. The other day.
Okay.
The other day.
Just checking.
Yet, and I can't remember the guy's name, I'm sorry, but there's an entire study on handgun calibers, an exhaustive, thorough study.
They're called the FBI.
Where the guy says, right, if it's a .380 or higher, they're actually pretty much all the same. Because regardless of what your velocity and energy is, in most scenarios at 21 yards, it hasn't reached it anyway. So it's going to hit the guy and do the damage and stop worrying about it. What is the name? I will post the study, facebook.com/Felt Recoil Show. I'll find it and post it there. Go read it. I'm telling you, it's really, really good. But he, in my opinion, settled the caliber debate. So there's stories of 9mm stopping grizzly bears from charging. And there's stories of cops carrying 100 rounds of 45, and that's not enough to stop a guy who was stone cold sober. The cop shot him 13 times. 6 bullets hit him in what should have been terminal places on his body, and the guy was still fighting back and still breathing when paramedics arrived. The caliber debate cannot be won. It's stupid. It's pointless. Just like telling someone you're going to use one company's barrel, another company's rail. Well, why are you using sub-quality stuff with this and that? Just stop. Let the guy build a gun that he enjoys. What is the problem with saying I've got a $500 budget to build a rifle and I have chosen to put a large portion of the budget in the trigger and the handguard? So what? Why does that bother you? Let somebody do that. Don't jump all down their throats. Hulon, your thoughts. Quality versus price gun parts. Is there a correlation?
I used to work in the bar industry.
Okay.
Are you a vodka drinker?
No.
Okay. So vodka, you know what vodka is,
I know
right?
you are, though, because you voted for Trump. Putin.
Right.
Found it.
No. You know what vodka is, though?
It's potato juice.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay. So, and it's supposed to be odorless and tasteless.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Ugh.
So
no, it's not.
So whereas
it's like crap.
Whereas just about every other distilled spirit has some sort of flavor.
Leave it to the Russians to invent an intoxicating substance that's odorless and tasteless.
It's nothing.
I can see Putin now. Vodka. She'll never taste it coming.
So I draw a correlation between ARs and vodka in that vodka is pretty much all supposed to be the same. ARs, as long as they're mil spec, quote unquote, are more or less supposed to be the same as well. Okay.
Fair.
If you were to poll, let's say a handful of people, we'll call it 100 people. Most of those 100 people, I'd say probably 85 of those are going to tell you Grey Goose is the best you can get. I tend to think that that's crap. And my reasoning for that is what Grey Goose has done is marketed their product spectacularly
high end
compared to just about everyone else. They put it in essentially a wine bottle. They make it really pretty. It's frosted and all that.
Yeah, you're right. It does have a cork.
It has a cork.
Yeah.
It is essentially a wine bottle.
I remember
that's on purpose.
I was serving drinks to people. I mean, it's been 15 years. And Grey Goose was $7. I don't know why that always stuck with me, but it's $7 for an ounce and a half of this stuff. I never understood it.
But that leads me to my point. So it's not anything special. Vodka is vodka. Basically, now, of course, there are some very low level brands that are they're going to be pretty crappy. But when we're talking upper level distilled spirit, they're all going to be about the same. Okay. I tend to think of ARs in the same realm because they're made to the same tolerances. So if he's got a PSA, he's a PSA lower, arrow upper. The thing to take away from that is that you have a lot of your smaller companies out there that are producing uppers and lowers are probably actually made by Arrow. I think if you wanted to make your own, if we wanted to make felt recoil lowers right now, we would need to order 100 from Arrow, and they would stamp them out for us.
Done. What's that going to run me? Like $200 these days?
So there's some companies out there. One that pops into my mind is Hodge Defense, which is what I would consider one of these sort of elite brands. Like if you don't know, you don't know. It's sort of like the running joke with them. Allegedly some top tier spec ops guys run their stuff. I think they make like 10 guns a year, and so they're hard to get. So that makes people desire them. Okay. But you have the Arrow Precisions of the world that are stamping out literally hundreds of thousands of lowers every year. And so suddenly that makes their product somehow less noteworthy.
Yep.
So I don't know that I buy into this idea of, well, if I pay more for it, it's better. In some cases, that's true. And I think that depends largely on different components. Are hand guards one of those things? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Is a barrel? Absolutely, because that's where the rubber meets the road. But is that mil-spec lower? Whether you're using an Anderson or a BCM, is there a huge difference? No. I just don't see it.
No.
And I love BCM, so I'm not taking anything away from what they're doing.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to compliment that point and say, there's a difference between quality and brand. And people don't perceive that, but if you look at two shirts that are made out of the same material, and this is something I'm lifting from a professor from the University of California at San Diego, was sharing this story the other day on a podcast I listened to, and he said, what I like to do is start the semester with two shirts hanging on a wall, and we spend our first few classes discussing why one shirt might be more valuable than the other. And the students examine them. They're the same color, they're the same cut, they're the same material, and we decide which one's more valuable, and we take a vote. And then at the end of the first couple of weeks, I pull the tape off the shirts and reveal that one is a generic shirt and one's got a Nike logo on it. And inevitably everybody goes, oh, okay, well, yeah, the one on the left is more valuable. And I go, what makes it more valuable? And they go, it's Nike. And then I say to them, there's a difference between value and brand. And Nike is more valuable, but only because we perceive that the brand is more valuable.
Sure.
That's all it is. There's no difference in the material or the composition of the item. It's just simply it's got a logo on it from a company that you think has a proven track record, and it does. But that doesn't mean that the other company isn't doing it just the same and not dumping the marketing dollars into convincing you that they're doing it better.
Absolutely. And the thing about somebody else's gun, and this is my dad saying, is like, so for instance, let's say, Chris, you make a really crappy AR.
I do.
Okay. So you build your crappy AR.
I got it.
What my dad would say about that is, I can't see it from where I sleep.
Right.
In other words, it doesn't matter what. It's yours. It's not mine. I don't care what you do with your gun or how you build it. You're building it the way you want it. And that should be good enough.
Yeah.
And so if guys on the forums have a problem with that, that's probably because they're guys on the forums.
Well, it's funny that I know there's guys out there that hate on Springfield XDs. I mean, I've owned several Springfield handguns. I've always liked them. I have at least 2 XDMs in the safe right now. I think that's right. At least 2. I can't remember. But there's a couple up there, and I like the XDM line. But people hate on Springfield XDs thoroughly, and I do too, because I think their marketing campaign is junk. But I'll tell you, I like the fact that they have a feature on them where the guns slide cannot be engaged. You can't slide the gun back unless you're holding it properly. And I got 3 kids in my house. So as they learn gun handling and maintenance and use and the safety rules, I like the fact that if I just, as long as they're unloaded and the ammo separate, there's not even a chance that they're going to rack those slides because they don't know. They don't have the grip safety depressed yet, Anyway,
the thing you need to know about that XD and our friend that sent us the email needs to take into consideration is that everyone on the forums is a tier 1 operator.
Right. They're all experts.
They actually, all of them, everyone on the forum actually killed Osama bin Laden. They all did.
I often wonder, is there another industry out there where people sit around and just argue hypotheticals constantly argue hypotheticals. Like, politics is one thing. I'll argue a hypothetical in politics with you, and I'll argue hypotheticals with you about guns all day. Like, tactically speaking, I think people make a lot of really poor decisions. And I'll just beat the dead horse for a second. One of the strongest things I learned in the Haley class in Tulsa was when Travis polled the audience. There's like, what were there, about 30 of us in this classroom, and he said, let's say you're in a mall and somebody starts shooting people. What do? You got your wife, you got a kid with you. What are you going to do? Somebody starts shooting people. And when everybody stayed kind of quiet, he was like, hey, and he pointed at one specific guy and he goes, you're an FBI agent. You've now been trained by some of the best trainers in the world. What do? And that guy was like, man, I leave. I take my family and I just leave. And Travis goes, it's the right answer. Feels bad, but it's the right answer because you're not in a battle mindset right now. Your family is there. You have to get them out of the fight and make sure they're safe. That's your obligation. Your obligation isn't all these strangers. Your obligation is to get your family to safety. And then if you have to, you can address the threat once your family is safe because you'll be able to think about it and address it correctly. Now, here's a guy who's actually been shot at, who's actually killed people in combat, telling you, if all hell breaks loose, get your family to safety and don't feel bad about not sticking around and pulling out your LCP and trying to do what you got to do. But you go on the internet forums, like our friend did, and say, psh, I'm taking my family to the car and getting out of there. And everybody's going to go, coward. That's why you train. You train like you fight. You train like you fight. Well, when you're in a real gunfight, does a bad guy yell threat? See the video going around Facebook of the guy who says, I'm going to do a comparison of having one in the chamber and having one not in the chamber. And he stands in a static position and lets a target come at him from 7 yards and shows that, well, it took me 3 seconds to fire here and 2 seconds to fire here. So always carry one in the pipe. How about this? If you stand still like that and someone's attacking you, you're probably going to die. So if you're not moving rearward or moving left or right and engaging that target, you're probably dead because, quite frankly, in both scenarios, go back and watch it. In both scenarios, he would have been stabbed before he got his first round off. He would have been stabbed right in the gut, and it would have hurt, and he'd be down on the floor. So it's all the whole, and I'm not trying to beat up on that guy. My point is, it's all unrealistic hypotheticals. It's all people who aren't putting every factor into the situation and then executing the scenario. They're all just going, well, in this case, if this exactly happened, okay, that's great. It's great to be prepared, but the fact remains that you don't know because it's not actually happening. Someone's not actually trying to stab you. What if that guy has a gun from 7 yards away and he's outdrawn you? Don't draw on a drawn gun. You will die. You know what I'm saying?
And I do know people who've been shot at. I haven't. I've lived a fortunate life where people have not tried to murder me. But I know people that have.
It's a work in progress.
Right. Wait.
Continue. I'm listening.
I'm just trying to think back of all the times.
Your brakes failed?
You tried to murder me.
Numerous.
I know people that have been shot at, and typically they're not the guys that are trying to flex on internet forums.
Right. Exactly right.
So the best advice I would give is build the gun you want to build. Don't worry about what all these losers have to say, because at the end of the day, they're not the one that's going to use it. And I wouldn't poll them for their opinion, frankly. I don't, as a personal habit, because I know that their opinion is generally useless. Now, it's not to say that there isn't good information out there in the forums on different things, but obviously, these guys act like they have unlimited experience and unlimited pocketbooks. And so, yeah, sure, if I had tons of money to blow, could I build a pretty awesome rifle and it would have all the whiz bang bop on it? Absolutely. Reality is I'm probably going to find a $50 lower and I'm going to build off of that.
Why not?
And if I want to put a Geisley rail on it, which I have done before, put a Geisley rail on a $50 lower, so be it.
You rich man.
I know. Well, I mean, I saved some money on the lower, so I could afford the Geisley rail.
Interesting.
So if that's what you want to do, I say do you and stop worrying about everybody else.
And I'll tell you, just to add to it, to answer the question specifically, I have a Geisley SSAE that I bought on the recommendation of everybody around me. You want the best trigger you can get? This is the best trigger you can get. And it's in one rifle. And I have a ALG ACT. That was a third of the cost in another rifle, and I couldn't tell you the difference. I couldn't. And it's because
That's because you don't operate, bro.
I don't operate, but I can tell you this. I've shot both of them, what I would say is extensively, and I don't think there's a large enough difference to justify 4 times the amount. $65 for one, more than $200 for the other. Come on, let's be realistic. And by the way, the bigger point to that, they're owned by the same company. They're coming out of the same spot. Just different labels on them, man. I'm telling you, just different labels. Trust me. Night and day. Anybody that says I could feel every bit of the difference in the creep, I think they're lying to you. 90% of the time, those people are just trying to flex, trying to look cool. But
it's all posturing.
I got a Daniel,
and that's what's frustrating about our industry. And I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Right.
So
it's frustrating.
It's something that we're kind of stuck with because you have so many guys that think they know everything that really know nothing.
How will we grow this community? Why are we? And that's, I guess, let me say it this way. What all this leads me to believe is that there's a vast amount of people in the gun community that don't want it to grow. And that's what bothers me. We should want the community to grow. I
like that band before they were cool.
Right, exactly right.
That's what it is.
I was shooting guns back when 38s were all anybody carried. Well, great, good for you. But too bad. I'm reminded, and I remember that I replied to the email, and I put this in the email. I'm reminded of a guy getting on to me one day. I was at work at the gun shop, and I was carrying a Springfield TRP. And it's one of my dream guns, but I bought a stainless TRP. And then I ordered some VZ, I think it's Indian redwood grips, just some really nice redwood grips. And so it just really pops. The gun looks great. I think it's a pretty gun. And I had a guy get all over me one day, a customer. What are you carrying? That's a Springfield TRP. I can show you one. It's down here. And he goes, well, no, looks expensive. So they're a little expensive, but they're really nice. And I gave him all the benefits. Well, what are you going to do if you have to use it? And I said, well, hopefully
use it.
Hopefully use it first. Like, what are we talking about? Hopefully win the fight,
you threatening me, bro?
Yeah. Come at me. Pow. And he goes, well, I'm just saying, if you have to use that, cops will take it and ruin it.
And I'll be alive.
Right.
So who cares?
Well, so I said to him, well, let me ask you a question. That's a great point. And as we talked, I said, well, let me ask you this. How many cars do you own? You own 1 or 2? 1. Okay. So you don't have one that you take on road trips and one you use as a daily driver? Because your daily driver gets beaten up well worse than your road trip car would. I'm assuming you went out and found the best car you could for the money, and that's your daily driver. So what's the difference between finding the best gun you can for your money, and that's your daily carry, and your daily driver car being what you drive every day? You're more likely to be in a car wreck than you are in a shooting, right? So somebody could smash into that and total it tomorrow, and you spent $20,000 on it. Hey, it's this application thing we do where, well, you shouldn't, or I know more than you do, and blah blah. And it's just stop. Why don't you just say, hey, that's a really nice gun, man. It's probably cool. It's probably cool to have a job where you can carry that to work, huh? That's fun. And then recognize that I'm paid hourly and you probably make 3 times as much as I do, and go about your business. You don't have to get all over me about I carry a TRP. Stop. Let's all stop with the ego. That's all I'm saying. Stop with the ego and let everybody come in to the fold and be like, dude, you want to shoot guns? You can build a great AR. I was touring a facility, and I'll wrap it up with this. I was touring a facility once that makes barrels, and the guy that runs that facility worked for Daniel Defense for decades, okay, doing quality control. And he told me, just blew my mind. He was like, look, you can buy a $200 Cold Hammer Forged barrel, and absolutely it has application and it has worth, and it's worth every penny you'll pay for it. But you and me going out trying to have a good time every other weekend, just tearing some paper up, building a rifle to have some fun with, absolutely no reason you should ever buy that barrel. You want to build a battle rifle? You think you're going to war? Buy that barrel. You're going to shoot in competition? Buy that barrel. You want to have a fun rifle? Just take care of yourself, have a good time? Right here, $75. And he went through like the composition, button broach this, cold hammer forge that, blah, 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 blah. It's all about how you use it. Okay, great. But the point is, that proves the point that price doesn't necessarily mean quality. It might mean you're getting gear you don't actually need. And why are we, by the way, why are we all acting like every gun you make is the gun you're taking to Fallujah to free the city?
Oh, we're not. That's not.
Can we stop with that?
I thought that's what we were going to do, though.
I know. If that's the measurement of every gun you're buying, why are LCPs such a hot item right now? Interesting. Why has anybody ever bought any Ruger handgun? If that's the litmus test here. Anyway, all right. So I hope that helped answer the question. I think the answer is there's no direct correlation between the two, right?
Not in my opinion.
I mean, me neither. I'm with you on that. I think Odinworks makes some of the best handguards out there. They're durable, they're very lightweight, and they're a lot less than the competition sells them for. And I think I have 2 rifles upstairs with Odinworks handguards on them. I love them. So love me, hate me, whatever. All right. By the way, quick FYI, this show tonight is brought to you by blackpeoplemeet.com. If you're black and you want to meet other black people and possibly date them, blackpeoplemeet.com. It's a real thing, and it's really racist. Saw a commercial for that on ESPN the other day. I thought that was kind of crazy. Well, I was eating lunch, by the way. We don't have time for the Golden Globes, which is fine, but I do want to point out that they all wore these Time's Up pins. Did you see that? To fight?
Yeah, I did.
To fight against sexual harassment, and then they allowed Hugh Grant to wear the pin and present an award.
I like it.
Okay. So the guy who's only famous because he hired a prostitute wore a Time's Up pin to oppose the sexual exploitation of women.
I watched the first couple minutes of like the red carpet thing, which is not something I would ever normally watch. I think whatever we were watching went off and it came on. And what I noticed was all the people that were commentators from the media wanted to do is ask everybody about this, hashtag Me Too bullcrap. And what I came to realize was that all of these people, unless it's on a script, are just blathering idiots.
Oh, yeah.
And none of them had prepared anything to say about it. So they're all wearing all black in solidarity, and they're all wearing the pins, and this is supposed to be this is what's in the air. And they all just tripped over their own words and just babbled and talked in circles, and it never went anywhere. And it was like, did you guys know you were coming to this thing tonight? Or like, because it just seems like you're just making it all up right now. It was absolutely embarrassing. And so after about the fourth or fifth celebrity, I was like, well, they're all morons, so I'm changing the channel.
As I told you at the start, I only watched about 10 minutes worth, and saw the Hugh Grant thing. I saw The Rock with his daughter, and The Rock's daughter is now going to represent underprivileged women. I thought that was great. Like, yeah, okay, she'll be able to relate. We can't find a woman who actually grew up in poverty and bring her in to run it. No, let's let The Rock's daughter do it. That's smart. And then Hugh Grant. And then there's a woman, I don't know her name. I don't know what she was given an award for. I'm assuming there was a Tonya Harding movie made. Or the Golden Globes is TV. Is that right? Golden Globes
I don't know what it is, but yeah, there was a Tonya Harding movie.
So
I don't even know if it's out yet, though.
And she basically praises Tonya Harding. And I thought to myself, no, wait a second. We're all wearing Time's Up lapel pins, but we're going to praise a woman who literally hired a man to violently attack another woman. Like, that's why she's famous. How big can your bubble be?
Chris.
Yes.
Apart from the two you just named, name one more figure skater. You can't do it.
Brian Boitano.
All right. Okay, you name one.
And then who was the bald guy that could do the backflips? Remember him? Scott something. Hold on.
Oh, man.
Hold on. Scott Hamilton. Bam!
You just ruined the whole bit. I didn't know you were such a huge figure skating fan.
Oh, man. Listen, Hollywood is so out of touch, and the Golden Globes proved it, and that's the whole point. And to add to the point, by the way, I was on Drudge Report, and he had this thing about American Idol coming back, and I thought that was interesting because I thought American Idol had actually ended years ago, but it turns out it only ended last year. Did you know that? It ended in 2016.
I did, because they made a big deal that it was going to go away, and then after the screen went black, Ryan Seacrest was like, until next time, or something really lame like that. So it's like, okay, yeah, everybody that's on the show wants to quit, so we're going to call it, and then we're going to bring back a bunch of, C-list people to be on it next time, which is, I think, exactly what they did.
I got to tell you, a quick funny side note is when I was in Birmingham and I did the Top 40 radio show.
Please tell me you tried out for American Idol. I can find that tape somewhere.
That would be great. Here's the tape I would like for you to find. I used to have to go on the local Fox News channel, the Fox 10 or whatever they were called, and talk American Idol after it aired every week. And I remember there was this guy who was from Puerto Rico, and he said he was trying to make everyone from his country proud. And they swing to me and ask me, what do you think about him? And I said, well, anybody that's so dumb that they think Puerto Rico is a country probably isn't going to win American Idol. I mean, you're a free state, right? I mean, you don't pay taxes, you get to vote, but you're not your own country. You're a free state. Huge difference. And I kid you not, the lady goes, well, thanks for the civics lesson. Like, she was so, like, it was ruined. And I always think back to it because I was like, he's a moron. He'll never win, and he didn't win, for the record. But here's what stuck out to me, and it's all about Hollywood's bubble. Like, these people think, let's come down and help the regular folk. Let's help the peasants, okay? Katy Perry is going to be a judge, apparently. She's still a thing. And she told them, hold on, I'm trying to find the exact quote. They want to be memorable talent. So Katy Perry says, we got to find memorable talent. We are wasting our time if we don't find another star. Yeah, that sounds good. Hopefully, Amy Perry, the judges.
Thanks for giving us a rundown on what the show is.
Here we go. All right. This is from the New York Daily News. Right. The judges said they saw themselves in the contestants. Now, Patrick, wait.
That sounds like sexual harassment.
We're well over our hour mark. No one's listening. So let's just take a second here.
Dad's going to be so mad.
He's so mad at me right now. Patrick, how old were you when you moved out of your parents' house?
20.
20, okay. And did your parents, funnel money?
The first time. To be clear.
Did your parents funnel money into your bank account, starting when you moved out? Did you get an allowance?
No.
Okay. Tell me the poorest poor man meal you ever remember eating.
I've tried to regress those memories. I ate a lot of ramen noodles there for a stretch.
Okay.
Or two.
Yeah, it's a poor man meal. Ramen noodles. Okay. Were you able to add frozen vegetables to it? Maybe a little soy sauce, spice it up a little bit, or was it just straight up ramen?
No, it was probably if I was getting fancy, I'd put some Parmesan cheese on top, the dried Parmesan cheese.
Yep.
That's probably about as good as you got.
But I would not put all the water in. I would do 1 cup instead of 2, and then it would soak up most of the water. And if you did creamy chicken and then some cheese, you get this real creamy cheese, almost it was awesome. That's how I used to eat it.
Check out Bobby Flay over here.
Yeah. Here's my poorest of poor man meals I remember. Not just stealing sandwiches that were pre-made at the restaurant I worked at, which I did. But I remember a night where I was so out of food and money that I found some old animal crackers and dipped them into the jar of peanut butter I had, and that was my dinner. Legitimately, I remember standing in the kitchen. I was playing probably Zelda on my Nintendo or something and eating peanut butter off graham crackers and thinking, no big deal. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a big deal. So we've all been there. I'm not saying it makes me unique. We've all struggled. But listen to this. The judges say they saw themselves in the contestants because they were once there. Katy Perry recalled the struggling days when frozen chicken nuggets from Trader Joe's What's our regular dinner? Listen.
That's what I had tonight before I came over and did the show. Apparently, I'm still on the struggle.
If you're stepping
I had no idea.
If you're stepping foot into Trader Joe's and you feel like you're poor and you're not there for the $2 wine, like in and out for a couple of $2 Chuck bottles, then
I mean, it's all relative,
friend,
right? So
right.
like if you're Katy Perry and you're used to Whole Foods,
right. Yeah.
then Trader Joe's is slumming it. So
You pull the bill of your cap down a little bit and kind of like walk in and hope nobody recognizes who you are. Isn't that Katie? Aren't her parents very well off? What is she doing here? Anyway, all right, I thought that was funny. They're so out of touch. They're all so stupid. But anyway, we'll wrap it up with our photo of the week. Speaking of out of touch, what a perfect segue. This is going to sound like I'm reading to you from The Onion, but I'm reading to you from LAtimes.com, and it's up at Facebook.com/Felt Recoil Show. A Compton woman who was struck by a car on the 5 freeway last year during a political protest that spilled onto the freeway is suing UC San Diego, among others, alleging failure to contain the demonstration and prevent a dangerous situation. Maria Flores, 19 years old, filed the lawsuit this month in San Diego County Superior Court against defendants, including the university, the driver of the car that hit her, the state, and the city of San Diego. The lawsuit's allegations include negligence and a dangerous condition on public property. A university spokeswoman declined to comment because litigation was ongoing. The city of San Diego did not respond to requests for comment. Flores, who was 18 at the time, was part of a protest that started on the University of California San Diego campus after Donald Trump gave his presidential victory speech in New York, and then it spilled over into the highway on southbound 5 freeway north of Nobel Drive, where a car struck Flores at about 2 o'clock in the morning. California Highway Patrol officers told the San Diego Union Tribune that the driver stopped after hitting Flores. He was not suspected to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Flores' attorney, Gerald Gene Sullivan of Manhattan Beach, says that his client suffered multiple broken bones and has permanent disabilities. He said Flores accepts some responsibility for her injuries, but not all of it. Quote, "We think it's a case of shared responsibility of the school, Maria, and the driver. And we're not saying that anybody is without fault or fault-free," Sullivan said. "We think other people bear some responsibility as well." Specifically, the lawsuit alleges that UCSD or the UC Board of Regents bears some responsibility for the protest. God bless. The lawsuit says the school and other defendants did not contain the protest and allowed it to spill onto the freeway, where security was inadequate to keep protesters safe. By the way, if you haven't seen the video, Facebook.com/Felt Recoil Show, and watch the fact that this girl legitimately turned her cell phone screen on so it was bright and waved it around and ran in front of a car as if it should stop because it sees her waving her cell phone at 2 o'clock in the morning on the freeway. Mm-hmm. All right.
I don't think that's how it usually works.
So far, no, absolutely not. Maria Flores, you are our voter of the week. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening to us reason together. And please visit feltrecoilshow.com. Click over and grab some of our gear. The shop is open. There's stickers. There's rocks glasses and pint glasses, hand etched here in the beautiful state of South Carolina. They're dishwasher safe and everything you need. So go there and shop. Show a little love. And like I said, about a third of that will go back to some great charities. So we'd love to see you support the show and support those great people. All of it at feltrecoilshow.com. Till we see you again for Felt Recoil episode number 61.